But I think when you enjoy your job as well,
Yeah.
and there's got a little bit of pressure around it,
Yeah.
it's very easy for that to creep into your mornings more and more, and then also into your evenings.
Yeah.
And so suddenly you're like, oh, where's my training time? I'm not sure that a lot of us in the population know what good healthy eating looks like.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't necessarily massively hungry, but it was just what I was eating. So that kind of ratio of protein to calories and working out, right, what do I need to eat?
Yeah. That was my client, David, who works a very high pressure job in consulting. So when it comes to his fitness journey, time was always his biggest constraint. In today's episode, we break down exactly how he has improved his body composition, increased his strength and his fitness, all without sacrificing his career. So thanks for coming on, Dave.
No, thank you.
Awesome. So, I mean, just for context for everyone else, do you want to just give us like a little bit of the classic icebreaker question, like a little bit of background, like who you are, what you do, general bits and pieces?
Yeah, so I'm David. I grew up in Scotland. I live in Edinburgh. I work in consulting at the moment. I did work in government before that. I am 41. I started with the program with Jacked A when I was 39. And my intention was to get fit for 40. That was my whole plan. So that's how I ended up starting there. But yeah.
Nice. And then obviously, like before you started, you were already training quite a lot. You know, quite a lot of CrossFit based stuff, and you're already like super into the training side of things, right?
Yeah. So I did a lot of CrossFit. That's kind of how I got involved in kind of fitness, probably. Like I'd done a little bit of running before that, and I decided that I wanted to get into the gym. I found traditional gyms for me pretty boring, and I also didn't really know what I was doing. So you kind of go in, and the machines, I've never really liked the machines. They don't really do a huge amount for me. So a friend of mine had said, why don't you try CrossFit? I was really lucky. I went to MTS like kind of years ago, and really good coaches there, which was great. So really got into that. But I guess for me, after a while, there was a little injuries come in, which happens with CrossFit, but like,
Happens with everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, true. But I think you just reached a point where I wasn't really gaining strength because there's not the actual regularity of doing the particular lifts or actually training particular muscles. So you go in, you get a great sweat with the WOD. You do some lifting for sure, and that's how I got some of the technique. But actually, I wasn't really gaining any strength. So wanted to kind of switch that up a level. And to be honest, there's after a while, I think you just need to change the routine as well, because it just ends up being a little bit samey. And then simultaneously, when I started CrossFit, got a bit fitter, my running started improving, but again, it kind of hit probably a bit of a ceiling with the running, because I would just go out and do the same thing all the time. It wasn't bad, I had a decent time, but I wasn't really able to push that forward. And then I suppose the other side of it was in terms of physique. I'd lost some weight, but I wasn't really seeing any definition in terms of
because like the goals at that point for you was to just kind of get a little bit fitter, get a little bit stronger, but then also have the physique side. And it sounds like you just kind of tapped out like maybe the potential of that in terms of what you were doing. I think when I started CrossFit, it was just to kind of get fit, and also I didn't really have a clue what I was doing, if I'm really honest. I mean, growing up in Glasgow, if you're not into football, you're not into sport. That was pretty much was pretty much the rule. So getting into CrossFit gave me that kind of initial confidence. But then I think I probably plateaued in terms of the strength side, but in terms of physique, I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And I'd done a few different kind of fad diet things. Either left me really hungry or I did, what's the one where is it paleo, where you're meant to eat like the classic CrossFit one.
Which just ended up like blending a lot of egg whites. It just wasn't for me, and to be honest, that's not sustainable for me. I can't with work and travel and stuff like that, I can't do it. So I probably had hit some goals within CrossFit that was great, some running goals, but in terms of actually physique, I was just probably a little bit thinner. To be honest. So you kind of lost a little bit of weight at that point, but just not where you wanted to be. So you're in that position. Is that when you first reached out to me? Around about that time, or like that sort of period? Because a friend of mine who'd also been at CrossFit had done coaching with you, and so his results were like unbelievable. And actually probably did similar stuff to me in terms of CrossFit and running.
Yeah.
So he'd kind of posted some like result pictures and stuff like that. And I was like, I want a bit of that.
Yeah,
so.
Nice. And then what was it that made you want to join then, if you can remember back to then?
I think so. I mean, I guess there was a part of me that was hesitant a little bit because I'd never done online coaching. Wasn't really sure what that would feel like. But we'd obviously had the conversation. I take my time to think about things. I was like, I think I need a week to think about this. But then I think there's a point where you just think, do you know what, in terms of my work, in terms of how I train, I do want flexibility. I do want to be able to, fit it in around busy schedule.
Yeah.
But I do need a bit of program. And so I think that combination of a program, remotely, but also the ability to check in once a week, have that actual connection where it's not just like a list of things to work through. So there's a human element.
There's a human connection there. Yeah, exactly. And then it's a while back now, but what do you think stood out for you in the first few like months of coaching that maybe it was different to what you'd done before?
So I think in terms of the programming, I think I was probably familiar with most of the movements. There was a few that I was like, what's that?
This is new.
But you can watch the little video and it tells you what to do. So that side of it kind of felt good. I mean, I suppose a couple bits on that side was, it was probably more intense than a classic CrossFit class for me. Which, by the way, I still love. But in terms of the training, I think I was finding muscles that I was like, holy shit. Like,
haven't worked these in a while.
or ever. So I think that discipline of kind of building up strength and then also seeing how that works towards my lifting, I think that was really cool. But the big one, I think, for me in the kind of first few weeks was adjusting my diet. So I think I thought I probably was okay, and was decent. But I think the combination of tracking what I was eating, being more intentional, so planning stuff out, but also like weighing out my food, and being like, oh shit, I've done this wrong.
Right. That's what 30 grams of that looks like.
Definitely. So I think, I think there's a big thing for me, which is, I think the context in Scotland, I'm not sure that a lot of us in the population know what good, healthy eating looks like. And certainly around portion control, I think it's completely out of whack. And so that, I wasn't necessarily massively hungry, but it was just what I was eating. So that kind of ratio of protein to calories and working out, right, what do I need to eat? But then also putting that around work as well and making sure that, so I had a kind of habit of just skipping breakfast, going through the day, drinking lots of black coffee, and then just eating from about 2:00 onwards, continually, and eating bad stuff because at that point
just like nibbling on things and then like the stuff and
definitely. So like if you skip breakfast, in my mind I was like, so that means I can have a treat, and
that
being an entire bag of minstrels, so which I don't think was doing a huge amount for me. So I think I think that first few weeks, what really struck me was that my diet was out of sync with my goals in terms of what I was trying to achieve.
I think we were saying just before as well, like that's probably something that I hear from so many people when they first start, like, I think my diet's okay, but I know it could be better. But it's not, it's like you don't know until you know. And when you start tracking and maybe you do weigh out some food, which I know it can be annoying and a bit faffy at first because you have to get the food scales out and put this on and do that and put it in the app, but then it does open your eyes so much that then you then realize like, okay, I think from a nutritional standpoint, most people's diets that when they do first start with me, they're not awful, but maybe from a calorie standpoint, they're a bit off. And you do get the odd ones that's both are a bit off. Okay, we've got a lot of work to do, but you weren't one of those. So I think with that, like over time, has it got easier? Have you found it like, because I imagine at the beginning it was tough to get used to all that, as you say, while still obviously doing everything you have to do at work, traveling down to London quite a lot, but has that got a bit easier over time?
So I mean, there's a couple of bits there. I think there's a practical point of you need to be organized. You need to be ahead of the game, make sure you've got good stuff in the fridge and in the cupboards. So I was used to just going to the shops every day. Like that's not helpful for this type of program. I think you do need to be organized. But I said this to a friend recently, I think when I started with the coaching program, like there was definitely a level of retraining what good nutrition and diet looked like.
Yeah.
And so actually the process of weighing out food, bit of a ball ache at first, not gonna lie.
Definitely.
But actually then you begin to see what does 30 grams look like, or you know, or how much chicken do I actually need to eat? It turns out quite a lot. So so I think there's a couple bits of just like being organized, so the admin side of it. But then also for me, it was a bit of retraining what good looked like, and any type of learning and training just takes a little bit of effort. But then, it definitely does get easier because you begin to see what things look like you instinctively know. And then when kind of going down to London and traveling, you just begin to work out, right, how do I manage that? It is a bit more challenging because you don't have your prepped up chicken in the fridge. Where's good places to go? You know, what type of stuff should I be ordering? And then how to balance that out.
I think, I know, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much, but with that, I found interesting is, I think a lot of people get caught up on like not wanting to eat the same things too often. But then I'm like, especially, I mean, even if you're at home, you could eat the same things more often, but especially when you're traveling, like I always just think, like literally me this morning when I drove down from Aberdeen, like I just got 2 of those protein yogurt sachets and a packet of blueberries. And I think a lot of people wouldn't look at that as like, that's a good breakfast, but it's 50 grams of protein. It's probably like 400 calories. And I'm like, right, that's actually probably exactly what I need on a day like today. And I think there's so many options like that, whether it's from small supermarkets or whether it's from like, well, I don't know, wherever, a little convenience store at the train station, if you're getting the train down, wherever. Do you know what I mean? There's so many little things there that I think people just write off. And then they will do what you said. They'll skip. I just want to get anything, actually. That'll be better. And I'll have coffee. And then it hits 2 o'clock and then the minstrels come out or whatever it is, right? So, you know, I get where you're coming from. And then, so if we then go from like you've been in the program for maybe say a few months at this point. When did you start noticing like physical differences coming through?
I mean, I think it doesn't take long. Like, and I think because you're hitting that kind of diet and training at the same time. So I think there's the first part where, the first few weeks I was sore because I was lifting. But in terms of like what you notice, I mean, I think because you're doing the kind of daily weigh-ins and like the regular kind of progress shots, actually within a few weeks, you start going, oh gosh, like I feel a little bit trimmer. And then when you're doing a lot of the weightlifting stuff, I think you begin to go, oh, I have a bit more shoulder than I thought I had. So, and then the kind of confidence builds. And so it's a bit of a kind of snowball effect where actually when you get that, probably for me, it was the first 3 weeks, you're just not see, like you see a little bit, but not huge much. But then, definitely a couple months in. And it kind of happens a bit for me, it happened a bit by like surprise. So the first few weeks you're like watching for every single gram. I think, I totally look different. And then, actually you're just doing it as a part of your regular routine. And then you sort of catch yourself and you're like, oh damn, I think I look good. I think I look better. And then that gives you the kind of, for me anyway, gave me the boost and the energy and the confidence to keep doing it. So then when you are going back to like some of those food choices, you kind of go, actually, I've got my goals, I've got my priorities, what I'm trying to aim for here. It doesn't mean you can't have interesting food at times.
Yeah, of course.
But actually, on a Tuesday morning, getting from City Airport to London Bridge, do I really need like a pastry? I'm probably good.
A latte, coffee or whatever it is.
I've got different priorities to do that. So so it didn't take massively long, and that's quite exciting when you start doing it. And then it's also exciting when friends at the gym are being like, eating something different.
Like, are you eating different? Like, what are you doing? Like,
definitely.
No, I think like it's funny. It's almost, as you say, the first few weeks you're like really like eagle-eyed looking for changes. When are they coming through? And then even though obviously it's not an overnight change, it sometimes almost feels like overnight. You say you wake up and then you just catch yourself in the mirror a certain way, like, oh, there's definitely a difference there. Or then like you see the pictures side by side and you're like, oh yeah, class. Like, can definitely see things happening.
Definitely. And I think, what was important for me is that like, I think that shift from, this is the type of body I want. You know what I mean? And I think that long term is probably not super healthy in my mind. So like how do we stay body positive and, enjoy our bodies? But actually part of that is that when the shift for me comes from just purely wanting to look good to actually feeling strong and getting fast. And I think that balance in the program's for me totally right. Because they play into one another. And as you shift, for me as I shifted to, I actually just want to get a bit faster, or I want to lift a bit more. That helps kind of reinforce those priorities and then your choices that you make. And then the byproduct is you look better.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think like I always say to everyone, like for almost everyone that I know, to be honest, who's like in shape and stays in shape long term, and like this is what I personally like to do as well. There'll be periods of the year where I'm more sort of aesthetic focused and physique focused, and I actually enjoy the training of that, where I'm like, I'm actually going to go in and do 8 to 10 or 10 to 15 reps of like just get a pump on and train in certain ways, but then I will eventually get a bit bored of that, and then I'll almost like, okay, I need to book in something, whether it's like a half marathon or a high rocks or whatever it ends up being. It almost doesn't matter. It's like something to then almost, okay, the focus shifts from aesthetics now to let's get as fit as I can for this event. And then normally by the time I've done that event, I'm like, oh, I'm so ready to go back to like just pumping iron again or something like that. So no, I think that's like, it's a good way to look at it for sure.
Well, and it keeps the whole program positive as well. Yeah. Because actually there is times when like the aesthetic side will plateau a little bit.
Yeah.
But if actually you're seeing the weights going up in the gym and what you're lifting, you know, or when you introduced interval running into my program, I was like, that'd be fine, that'd be cool. And then the first one I was like, oh my God. But then actually you get used to that and you kind of, well, I got, you know, into it, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I didn't think I was going to, like, you give me a pace that I was like, are you mad? Like, and then I think I did one where I did hit that pace, but I also added an extra 2 kilometers because I'd programmed it into my Garmin wrong. I was like, I did a bonus round. Yeah. So like, when one part maybe is feeling a bit slower, you got to balance that out of being like, but I'm achieving over here.
No, I get you. I think that's probably useful for a lot of people to hear. I think they get over fixated on the look all the time, when like there's probably only a certain amount of time you can really push for that, which kind of segues nice into the next like thing I was going to ask you about, which is obviously work wise can be super busy for you. So that's probably been one of the bigger challenges that you've had over the time. I mean, I don't know how long it's been now, definitely more than 2 years, but like with a little break in the middle. But like over the time period that we've worked together, how do you think it's helped having this in your corner when it's in those challenging periods?
Yes, I changed job in the last, about 18 months ago. So my last job, I had a lot more time. So sometimes I'd finish up about 4:30 in a day, and then I would just kind of, you know, so I had just a lot more time to go to the gym. I wanted to put my foot down in my career and like, you know, drive it forward a little bit. So I went into a much more kind of high pressure job, which I love. It's great. But it also, I think when you change your job, you've got to go in hard, first of all. You've got to prove yourself, make those connections. But then it also just turns out, actually, that's the pace of my job. So it's like, oh, God, right, okay.
It's like the interval running for work coming in.
Exactly. But I think when you enjoy your job as well, and there's got a little bit of pressure around it, it's very easy for that to creep into your mornings more and more, and then also into your evenings. And so suddenly you're like, oh, where's my training time? So I think that's been the biggest challenge for me. And the reason I probably paused the training program, I was just like, I just don't have time for this right now. And that was probably what it was. It was definitely a mistake, because actually work then just took over. And I was like, I'm just going to train when I can. And that just kind of drops out because you don't have that accountability. You're not checking in with someone. And also for a program wise, you go in and do some bench and you're like, probably smashed it.
That feels pretty good.
I think I've got it. So for me, it's about, I'm pretty driven in my work. I've got goals I want to achieve in that space without question. But there's also things outside of work I want to achieve. And actually, for me, if I don't have that structure and that kind of setup of the program, actually it's very easy for work to just take over into that space. And then suddenly 3 weeks have passed and I've not been out running, or I've not hit the gym. So then when I do have a bit more time and I want to get back into that space, I just don't have that same readiness as there. So for me, it's about, there will always be more work than there's time. So actually, how do I put some boundaries in there where I've got some other things that I have targets on as well?
Like I think you said before, you know, almost like balancing. Yes, of course you've got work goals and you want to push the career, but you also have other goals as well. That's almost like, you know, and tell me if I'm wrong, it might just be my perspective, but I think of it as like, because I've got the same, obviously I've got goals with work stuff, but then I think of other stuff as like life fulfillment goals of other things. I want to go and do things. I want to have time to do the things I want to do and not let work completely take over everything.
Oh, definitely. And like, if you're in maybe like my last job, where you do your work and you can clock off at a certain time. There's a bit of balance there. I'm sure there's challenges in that space too.
Yeah, definitely.
There's very few time boundaries in my job, so it will just expand.
Yeah, you creeps.
And when you're in a performance-based kind of work environment, then you're like, I just need to hit that goal. I need to hit that goal. Yeah. What I've kind of found is they do actually benefit one another.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to ask that next.
So you do get this energy from working out that you can take into your job.
Yeah.
But actually, a big part for me is I'm a slightly highly strung individual, so I can focus. I focus really well on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Which then means sometimes I can just bang my head against the wall and be like, "That's what I need to do."
Yeah.
Actually, getting out, training, getting those endorphins, that positive energy. Yeah. You come back into the workspace with a different mindset. And it does feed into that. Yeah. The kind of good decisions, and also like when just not to worry about things.
Yeah, 100%. I think like there's so much to be said. I think it actually gets so undervalued by, again, maybe it comes back to what I said before, is you don't know what you don't know. If you've not really been in a position, not you specifically, but anyone else, like if they've not really managed to find a good balance of training and doing well at work, or not doing well, but like spending a lot of hours at work, and they think that more hours at work is going to be the answer to it. But actually, I'm sure we've all had, I get this when I'm sitting down to do something, whether it's writing a post or this, that, next thing, and I'm like, I just feel like I'm pushing through mud right now. So at that point, I then just think I need to get outside and like change my environment, go for a run, go to the gym, do something. And they say you come back and you feel like you got a fresh head on your shoulders to then be able to attack whatever the thing is you're doing at work. And I think when you consistently do that, and you're starting your day, let's say with a gym workout or a run, and then you go into work, I feel like you actually just bring, like I have a better work day after I've done that than if I don't. It's probably the easier way of saying it.
Yeah, completely. And like, let's be honest as well, your colleagues notice as well. Yeah. Because actually, a colleague of mine always says, are we remembering not to sweat the small stuff? Which, I sweat small stuff quite like, so I do think that your body definitely feeds into that kind of fresh mind as well. Now sometimes that doesn't always happen. There's deadlines, you got to go, and it is what it is. But actually, there's got to be more to life than just working, especially that Monday to Friday. Weekends totally different. So got it. But that Monday to Friday, it's very easy for that just to become all about work. And especially when I'm traveling down to London, because I'm tired, right? And it'd be very easy just to be like, it's a nice hotel, I'm just going to enjoy the cooked breakfast. I deserve this, I've been working really hard. But actually, the way you feel after doing even just a run on a treadmill, when if it's not a decent gym, makes a difference.
No, totally, I completely agree. I think we've gone on it, we've banged on about it for now. So I think I think most people listening to this will probably agree that like that's probably the better way to go about it. So in terms of like where things are now, I'm hoping you've found a bit of a better balance of it all, with like getting your gym stuff done, getting the work done. Obviously, as you say, there's times when then you do have to just focus on work, which is cool. But this could be maybe at any point over the last however long we've worked together. What would you say has been something you've been sort of most proud of yourself for achieving or being able to figure out and kind of get consistent with?
Good question.
Damn. It's a hard one.
I think can I have two?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the first one I think is getting in and doing a gym session, doing the programming, and just being consistent with it, and like trusting the process. So I really enjoy like Olympic weightlifting. I would just do that the whole time if I could. And then it gets onto like the accessory section, and you're like,
this is not as fun.
This looks shit. And like, and sometimes it is. But sticking with that, and then beginning to see weights I never dreamed that I'd be able to lift, and being able to achieve that. And again, that sort of snuck up on me. I didn't expect to do that. I mean, I'm not a big guy, so I'm not like lifting tons. But for me, being able to kind of have a goal, like saying deadlift, and then just like massively exceeding that. But that comes from the discipline of doing all the other
all the little things, sweating the small stuff.
Exactly. So that for me was one of the big achievements, and just feeling stronger. I think in the running, I think I kind of was like, well, this is just the pace I run. And
Yeah.
it was decent. I
Yeah,
think it was a
yeah.
decent enough pace. And so I was kind of happy with that to a degree. But basically just reconfiguring how I train in running and seeing like progress on that, I think that's been really exciting.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think the differences are people always put so much attention on like whatever that main thing of the session is, whether, you know, for you it's a little bit lifting, whether people are like, oh, I really want to improve my bench press. And I was like, okay, well, there's only so much bench press we can do. We need to do all these other little things that will actually help with that as well. Yeah. So I was like kind of getting around to that idea, but no, I completely agree. So I guess then to sort of start rounding out the chat we've had, like if you could go right back to day one, like when we first had that first chat about maybe, you know, you coming on board, what was was there anything you were a bit maybe nervous about or anxious about before joining that actually maybe didn't turn out to be a big deal?
I think just being really honest, I think the investment versus like online coaching, I was like, I don't know what I'm paying for.
Yeah.
Because I was used to like gym memberships or like...
It's not like a tangible, like, yeah.
So like you pay your CrossFit subs and you've got barbells and stuff like that. So I think that felt like that took me a little kind of few days to kind of get my head around. And actually the value I've got, because it's the results, right? Actually, like if I could go back and be like, this is what you're going to gain from this in terms of perspective and in terms of actual like strength and you know, with running your kind of pace, it was just a no-brainer. But I think that was the sticking point for me at first. I was like, I don't know what I'm getting, because there was I'd done like apps and stuff before, so you know, I think that was probably the big one for me.
Yeah. Which actually it makes sense now. It's funny, I've actually never thought of it in that exact way, so that's useful for me. But yeah, like you're paying for, like, I think a lot of people assume they're paying for workouts or like the meal plan or this or that thing, and I'm like, well, like, yes, you are, but you can get all that anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And I always think like I try to think of it for me as like, people don't pay Jacked so that they get the best, like we try to give the best workout program we can, but I think of it more as my job is to do whatever it takes from a training and nutrition perspective to help them get the result that we spoke about, which, you know, obviously for you is improve strength, improve running, better physique, but for someone else could be completely different. So whatever that looks like that's what I see my job as, which even as I say that, it does sound quite wide and still a bit obscure. It's like, well, what do I get? But yeah, I think hearing it from you, knowing that whatever I'm trying to say here, like whatever, I have to lost my train of thought as I was doing through this. Like when you joined, knowing that it was still maybe a bit of a leap of faith, but you're like, I'm gonna give it a go, and you know, it's obviously been worthwhile seeing what you said so far. So I guess final one for me would be, if there's maybe someone listening that has been thinking about reaching out, but maybe they're like, oh, I'm just gonna wait. I'll maybe do it next year or next month or next, you know, whenever, when work dies down. What would you think to say to them?
I mean, you can do that. Yeah. Like that's fine. I think you're only putting off like where you want to get to. So I guess it's make that leap, give it a shot. There's not huge amounts to lose. In trying. But if you are kind of reached a place where you're kind of plateaued in terms of your training program, you're, you know, working through the challenges of busy work life kind of schedule, like if this is what you want to achieve, then for me this is definitely work. This is really giving me the flexibility I need. It's also giving me the challenge that I need, and the kind of pushback of maybe not such a great week. Like, what do we need to put in place? Like for me, that those were the essential ingredients that I needed. With also the programming that's actually makes sense for my goals. And marrying that with the nutrition. So if you want all those things together, then for me this has been great. And I just think, you know, sometimes just give it a shot. Go for it.
Yeah, like I say, what have you got to lose? Really.
Yeah.
Nice one. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. Much appreciated. So guys, if you enjoyed that and you find that quite relatable, then don't forget you can head to the description below. There'll be a link in there where you can find out a little bit more on what it looks like to work with Jacked. It'll take you less than 90 seconds and you'll get all the info you need.